Welcome to the Lunch and Learn session by Mary Bird Perkins. Again, thank you everyone for taking time out of their day to attend. My name is Erin Brannigan. I am the North Shore Regional Manager of Early Detection and Education at Mary Bird Perkins. I'm very excited for you to hear from our presenter today, Meredith Bechac. She is a registered dietitian at the Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center in Covington and has been with the company for almost 4 years. Meredith has a great passion for promoting a healthy lifestyle even beyond food. She loves to focus on the rooms of healing through things like rest, hydration, and stress management. At Mary Bird Perkins, she enjoys working with her team doing nutritious food demonstrations, educating on seasonal produce, and giving nutrition-focused presentations like the one today. Before I turn it over to Meredith, I just wanted to let everyone know if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to drop them in the Q&A portion below, and we'll try to get to all of them at the end of the session. Also, for anyone who was unable to attend today, the presentation will be recorded and available after the session. But now I will turn it over to our presenter of the day, Meredith Bechac.
Thank you so much, Erin, for that beautiful introduction. Today, I have a wonderful presentation to tell everyone a little bit about nutrition for cancer prevention. So we're going to dive into that. But first, I wanted to start off by saying that everyone's body is very unique and individualized. So a lot of things that I'm going to be talking about today are pretty overarching and general recommendations. And it's always best practice to speak with your physician or your healthcare provider about what is best for you, your body, and your goals regarding a healthy lifestyle. So let's get into it. Here are a bit about the objectives I'm going to be going over today and some things that I want all of us to be able to answer by the time this presentation is complete. So some of the objectives are going to include understanding a nutrition facts label, determine quality selections in each food group, making a list of healthy snack ideas, and even some ideas that you can kind of adopt onto your own and include in your everyday life, recognizing some hydrating liquids and the variety of different hydrating liquids, classifying different types of physical activity and how you can include that in your everyday lifestyle as well, and then identifying some various cancer preventing modalities. So we're going to get into that. The first thing I wanted to start off with today is how to read a nutrition facts label. A lot of my patients will come up to me and ask me different things about different prepackaged items, foods, snacks, and which one is best, what to look for when you are in the grocery store. So we see two labels here. The one on the left is a little bit older nutrition facts label, and we may see that a little bit on the shelves, but what we're going to see more often is the one on the right. This is our newer nutrition facts label. We're going to see the serving size is bolder. We're going to see the calories have a little bit more emphasis, and it provides a little bit more information tailored towards the consumer to be able to read this nutrition facts label and understand what it's saying. So let's start from the top. In the green box, this is going to let us know the serving size for this product. So in this product, there are 8 serving sizes per container. And a serving size of this product is 2/3 cup. So 2/3 of this item, we're going to go down to the next box, is going to provide you with 230 calories. So the 230 calories is not for the entire product, just for the serving size. So we want to keep that in mind as well. Moving down to the third box, our percent daily value. So your percent daily value, you want to be making sure you're getting 100% of vitamins, nutrients, and minerals. So in this product, you can see on the label, 2/3 cup of total fat is going to be 10% of your daily intake of total fat. Kind of same thing for all of the others going down the line as far as carbohydrates go. If you need to get 100% of carbohydrates in your day, this product, 2/3 of this product is going to provide you with 13%. So that's kind of how we read percentages. And then next to the nutrient, it's going to tell you how many grams of that product is in the package. So we want to make sure in the third box, in the yellow box, that we are limiting very minimal or limiting our saturated fats and our trans fats. And we're going to be getting into that a little bit later when we're talking about the different food groups, okay? The fourth box, that blue box, is going to let us know how many added sugars are in that product. Now, we're not talking about the natural sugars, or we're not talking about sugars that are coming from fruit or natural sources like honey. We're talking about any of those added sugars from white refined sugar added to the product to increase sweetness. So that is, in this product, 2/3 cup is going to be 10 grams of added sugar, which is around 20% of our intake. When we see 20%, and we'll get into this in the next slide, and we see 20% or greater, that means that that product is very high in that value. Anything 5% or below is going to be low. So we want to make sure that our added sugars are 5% or less when we're looking at prepackaged items. In the next box, in the orange box, number 5, we're going to be talking about our vitamins and minerals. So just like I said earlier, 25 or more percent daily value of a product means it's a really great serving, really great nutrient density of that product. So this product, 2/3 cup of this product, is going to have 45% of iron, which is a wonderful source of iron. So this is going to be really great if we're trying to reach our iron goals. And then at the very bottom, it's going to tell us our percent daily value. And this is based off a 2,000 calorie diet per day. So you'll see that at the bottom. And usually it'll say either 2,000 or 2,500 calorie diet. So we can pretty much see that a lot of these recommendations are similar across the board. So as a general guide, like I said, 25 to 20% going to be considered very high percent of the daily value of that product. Same for our low percent, which is 5. So 5% daily value or less is low. The things that we want to look for in our prepackaged items are going to be, what we want to see that's 20% or more is going to be our fiber, our vitamin D, our calcium, and potassium. Those things that we want to be more than 20% in a prepackaged item. Things that we want to see 5% or lower are going to be our saturated fats, sodiums, and added sugars outside of those more natural sugars. So let's get into our food groups. All the time, patients are asking me, how can I get more protein into my diet? My physician is telling me that I need to increase my protein. What are some wonderful things, and how do I do that? These are some really great sources of proteins. We have our eggs, Greek yogurt, we have our fish, tofu, chicken breast, turkey. We see grass-fed beef is a wonderful source, and then also our beans and lentils. So we have two types of proteins that we see here. We have more animal-based proteins, and then we have more plant-based proteins. A lot of cancer research is encouraging us to consume more plant-based proteins or lean proteins. So something that would be considered more of a plant-based protein would be your tofu. It would be your hummus, your edamame beans, your lentils, your black beans. All of those are going to be wonderful plant-based proteins, but then we also have some really good white meats or lean proteins as well. So all of these are a wonderful source of protein, but I also included some other vitamins and minerals that each of these individual types of proteins provide. A lot of patients will ask me, I'm eating eggs, but what's better? Egg whites, egg yolks? Should I scramble my eggs? Should I eat them hard boiled? Honestly, whatever modality you like your egg cooked is perfect. And eating the whole egg is wonderful because your egg whites are going to provide wonderful B vitamins, and your egg yolks are going to provide more of those fat-soluble vitamins. So you're getting kind of a whole panel of really good nutrient-dense items in each of these proteins. So these are wonderful to keep in mind. I don't know if anyone has pen or paper, you're taking some notes, but these are really great proteins to keep in mind and to make sure that you're purchasing these on a regular basis, putting those on your grocery list and making sure you're consuming quality lean proteins. Something to pair with your wonderful protein are whole grains. So when I'm talking about whole grains, I want you to think of an actual grain, the whole grain. So we want to consume the entirety of that grain. When we see more of our white breads or our white pastas, that grain is going to be stripped and bleached and turned white eliminating a majority of those vitamins and minerals. It doesn't mean that there's not a place for white breads or white pastas, but if we're trying to look for more nutrient dense options, we're going to make sure that we're including things in our diet like quinoa or whole grain pastas, wild rice, whole wheat bread. These things are going to be wonderful, not only for our digestive health, but also for our cholesterol too. If we're looking for prepackaged whole grains, I put on the side this label that I want you guys to look for when you're in the grocery store. So 100% whole grain. You'll probably see this little yellow square on the outside of your bread or flours, or even on a cereal box. You may see some of these labels. So 100% whole grain just indicates that the grains used in that product are using 100%, the whole grain. 50% or more is going to let you know that it is, just like the label says, 50-50. So half of the grains used in that product are going to come from whole grains. And then another thing to look for is also just a plain whole grain, and it's going to let you know how many grams of whole grains are in that product. So they may just use a little bit of whole grains, but these are wonderful things to look for when you are looking to purchase some of these products. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about fruits and vegetables. I get a lot of questions almost every week of patients and anyone in the community asking me, what is better? Fresh, frozen, canned? You know, people are telling me, what's the difference? I'm just always buying fresh things. I think that that has more nutrients. And when in reality, all of these items are going to have pros and cons. So let's talk about some fresh fruits and vegetables. Our fresh fruits and vegetables, the pros are that if we need a recipe or we are consuming that product today and we want it fresh, it's perfect. That's a wonderful option for us to include into our grocery store haul. Wonderful things to pick up. But as we know, our fresh fruits and vegetables are not going to really have a very long shelf life. So if we're looking for something that is going to have a longer shelf life, or we're going to use it over a longer period of time, something like frozen peaches, frozen green beans, that's going to be really helpful for something that is going to last a little bit longer. Another thing that's really helpful to know about your frozen produce is that when those items are frozen, they are frozen at their most peak nutritious point. So these items are going to be flash frozen when that item is at its most vitamins, most minerals, and most ripe. So that's another thing to keep in mind, that although it may be a frozen item, it still has a lot of wonderful nutrient and vitamin mineral components. So it's a wonderful choice. The next thing is canned items. A lot of people may be leery about choosing more of a canned fruit or vegetable, but canning is a wonderful way to preserve your items a little longer as well. If we are looking for canned fruit, I want you to make sure that you are choosing something that is in 100% fruit juice or in water. And then for your vegetables, I want you to make sure that you're choosing something that is no sodium added. One thing to do if you already have something with sugar or salt as a canned item in your pantry is to take that and just put it in a colander and just take some water and just wash that off, because that is going to take away some of the sugar and some of the salt, so you're not consuming both of those in excess. We see that at least 2/3 of your plate needs to be filled with plant-based food. So whole grains, fruits, vegetables, beans. A lot of cancer research is leaning more towards, like I said earlier, some of that plant-based option. So at least 2/3 of your plate, we're seeing that needs to include all of these wonderful fruits, vegetables, beans, so we can make sure that we are preventing disease. Another thing to keep in mind when we're talking about fruits and vegetables is to support local. So I don't know how people or how many people are, going to a farmer's market or, supporting local, usually on Saturday or Sunday mornings. But this is a wonderful way to get your produce, because it's going to be coming from your local farms. It's going to have lots of nutrients. And of course, all of the animals and bugs are pollinating these plants. So you know that it's going to be wonderful for your immune system as well. Another thing to keep in mind is making sure that you are consuming produce that is in season. So this is a little produce wheel that I found that's really helpful, especially for Louisiana and our state. So we can see that there are various things that are coming in season, whether it be winter, spring, summer, fall. One wonderful thing about making sure that you're consuming produce that is in season is that it's going to be at its most nutritious peak, and they're also going to be a lot cheaper. So you may see at the grocery store that you walk in, you look at the produce section and you see during the summertime, a big vat of watermelons, or, they're obviously harvesting a bunch of strawberries or corn. All of that is going to be a little cheaper because we are harvesting all of that produce currently. Okay, so let's get into our healthy fats. Our healthy fats are wonderful to add a different flavor and texture profile to our meals. So I put on here, and I want you guys to write this down as well, or take a screenshot. These are wonderful mono and polyunsaturated fats. So things that I would like to see you add to your grocery list or keep on hand are going to be some olive oils, avocado oils, avocados in general, nut butters, different types of nuts like almonds or pistachios. Another wonderful type of healthy fat are also going to be seen in seeds. So pumpkin seeds and sesame seeds are wonderful to keep in mind. Your olives, and then your cold water fish like salmon. Some saturated fats that we want to make sure that we are limiting or avoiding in our diet are going to be some of those fried foods or processed foods. Even some processed meats can have a lot of saturated fats as well. Palm oil or even coconut oil. I know there's a lot of, buzzwords around coconut oil, and it does have a little bit more unsaturated. It has a little bit more saturated fat versus your unsaturated fat. So I want to make sure that everyone includes a lot of these healthy fats into your diet, because these are really good anti-inflammatories as well. Another thing that a lot of us really lack in our diet is fiber. So the AICR, the American Institute for Cancer Research, recommends 30 grams of fiber or more per day. And your fiber, pretty much similar to your whole grains, is going to be wonderful for your cholesterol health and your digestive health. So these are a few things that I included of what could be a good alternative to make sure you're getting really good fiber in your diet. So for breakfast, some good examples. Instead of doing just a regular orange juice for breakfast, doing more of a high fiber cereal with fresh fruit. Switching from a white bread to a slice of whole wheat toast with a scrambled egg and avocado. Instead of choosing a sugary cereal, maybe switching to oatmeal. That includes some flax seeds, chia seeds, topping that with some organic honey and some apple slices. For lunch, similar with the white bread, swapping for whole wheat bread. And then also, instead of chips, choosing something as far as raw carrots or zucchini or cucumber slices. The skin on all of those vegetables are going to be a really good source of fiber. We want to make sure that we're consuming the skin on our fruits and vegetables. For an afternoon snack, instead of a candy bar, choosing about a half of a cup of berries with some nuts or nut butter is always wonderful. And then for dinner, replacing your chicken or your meat in your meal with a half cup of beans or lentils, and then adding something like some Brussels sprouts or sweet potatoes as a side. So if we were to take all of these recommendations and include all of this in our day, that would get us about 20 grams of additional fiber into our meals. Okay, so let's talk about sugar and cancer. I get this question quite often, and I wanted to bring it up in this presentation because I think it's something that is wonderful to know and keep in mind. So this is what the research tells us. The research says that an overconsumption of refined white sugars, whether that be in pastries or treats, goodies, candy, an overconsumption of those sugars can lead to abdominal weight gain. And that's going to be weight gain in our midsection. So weight gain that's going to be on top of our vital organs. So when we have that excess abdominal weight gain, one of the risk factors is going to be cancer. So we see just like smoking is a risk factor or can be a risk factor for lung cancer, and alcohol consumption can be a risk factor for stomach cancer. We see that excessive abdominal weight is a risk factor for a cancer diagnosis. So in order to reduce our cancer risk, we want to reduce the amount of abdominal fat that we have through a variety of modalities, whether that be eating a healthy whole food diet, being physically active, and making sure that we are hydrating our body. All of these are going to be wonderful in making sure that we're reducing the amount of fat that is sitting on our vital organs. So some healthy and natural alternatives to sweeten our food and beverage are going to be organic honey, maple syrup, dates, stevia, coconut sugar, and even molasses. So these are wonderful natural alternatives to make sure that we are getting a lot of those good natural sweeteners in our diet and using those in place of some of our more white and refined sugars. And of course, we cannot eliminate them completely. That's not realistic, but making sure that we're being mindful of when we're consuming things and how much of that we're consuming. Okay, let's talk a little bit about healthy snacking. So much like everybody else, I love a good snack, but I want to make sure that it is something that is going to last me a long time. If I'm eating something, I want to make sure that I'm feeling full for about an hour or two after, versus something that I'm going to eat and then maybe 5 minutes later, still feeling kind of hungry. So these are some really good recommendations, and I'm going to encourage you to write some down that you think would be good to add to your grocery list or some things to keep in mind as far as eating a snack, in between, whether it be breakfast and lunch or lunch and dinner, or even a late night snack. So I included some fruits and vegetables here. But one thing to keep in mind when you are snacking is I want you to include a healthy source of protein. And that why I say that is because when we are pairing a wonderful carbohydrate with our protein source, that is going to help us to stay fuller longer. Okay. So we're going to be seeing that maybe we're not, like I said, we're not going to be maybe feeling like, oh, I need another snack after maybe 15 minutes. It's going to help us to stay fuller longer. And then we're not as mindlessly snacking on things that are probably not going to give us a lot of nutrient value. So I included some whole grains here. And then I also included some beverages, and we're going to get into some hydration, talking about water or unsweetened tea, and some bone broth or vegetable juice. Okay, so keeping in mind when you're going to the grocery store, I know I've been talking a lot about that in this presentation, but one hack that I found that's really helpful when you are in the grocery store is to treat your cart. You're taking your shopping cart, you're going up and down the aisles, and I want you to treat your shopping cart as 4 different meals. So in each corner of your shopping cart, I want to encourage you to first start out putting a protein in each corner. For example, I would start off by probably putting maybe a fish, like a salmon in one corner, maybe a rotisserie chicken or some frozen boneless, skinless chicken in a corner. I would do maybe a hummus and some black beans. And then in the other corner, I would probably put some eggs. And then the next thing I would do is look at my whole grains. What would be a good whole grain I would want to consume with salmon, chicken, hummus, eggs, and then the list goes on and on. Adding a good fruit or vegetable to each of those corners, adding a good source of fiber and healthy fat. And that way you feel like you have a little bit of direction when you're going home and planning some of these meals, and you have all the ingredients with you. And I just think that's a wonderful way and kind of fun to go through the grocery store and pick out a couple of things for meals so it doesn't seem as overwhelming. Okay, so I know we said we would talk about some hydration. So one of the most important nutrients is water, and your body definitely needs that hydration to nourish your cells and to keep your joints moving. So a daily recommendation is around 50 to 80 ounces of water per day. So if you're somebody who is not a wonderful water drinker, making sure that you have a water bottle with you at all times, whether that be a reusable water bottle, or making sure that you are trying to get your fluid in with meals or in between meals. Super, super helpful. Now, much like I said in the very beginning of this presentation, everybody's recommendations are going to be different. And there are some unique circumstances where you may need more water versus less water. This is wonderful to bring up with your healthcare provider. If there is a point where we feel like you need to increase your fluid, maybe you're experiencing constipation, diarrhea, vigorous exercise, you have low blood pressure, maybe you have a fever, or maybe your blood sugar is really high. These situations, and again, everyone's unique, but these situations are probably going to constitute an increase in your fluids. Now, some of the recommendations when we would want you to decrease your fluid is if you're experiencing anything with your kidneys or renal failure, dealing with situations of your heart, or if you have fluid retention on your body, that would be considered edema, or if it's recommended by your physician. So those are some things to keep in mind. Like I said, everybody's body is unique. So some good things to keep in mind as far as hydration. Speaking about hydration, a wonderful thing to include in your everyday week is physical activity. So making sure that we are reducing the risk of chronic disease in adulthood, we want to have at least 30 minutes of a moderately intense physical activity. And I'm going to give you some suggestions on the next slide of what moderately intense physical activity looks like. So we want to make sure that we are moving our body, and even to sustain weight loss in adulthood, we want to have at least 60 to 90 minutes of that moderate intensity physical activity. Again, like I said, everyone's body is unique. So you may need some help with your healthcare provider to give you some recommendations on what type of level of physical activity you're able to participate in. So here are some examples here. And some of these things you can kind of integrate in your everyday life, like dancing or yoga, even table tennis or kayaking. It's getting a little warmer outside and it's starting to feel a lot like spring. So if you are working in your garden or you're doing some yard work, even putting away groceries, if you have a lot of groceries, that is a version of moderate physical activity. Now, if we're getting into more vigorous physical activity, such as jogging, running, climbing and trimming trees, doing a cycling class that is a little bit more intense, those are going to be our vigorous activities. So getting a variety of each of these throughout our week, I think, is going to be really helpful in overall health. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some cancer prevention recommendations. And these are some things that I'm seeing a lot in the research that I wanted to bring up to all of you today, and that I think are really, really cool points that we can kind of integrate into our life and educate others. So one diet that probably a lot of people have heard about, it's pretty much like a buzzword in nutrition research, is the Mediterranean diet. And the Mediterranean diet focuses on quite a few things, but it focuses on making sure you're getting whole fruits, vegetables, whole grains. It also focuses a lot on healthy fats. So lots of wonderful olive oils and fish and nuts. Another really big component of the Mediterranean diet is not even anything to do with food or physical activity. A big component of this diet is community and making sure that you have a wonderful, wonderful community of others. You're eating with people, you're communicating with people. So that was a really cool piece of the Mediterranean diet that I wanted to share with you guys, that your community matters when it comes to reaching your health goals. Another really cool thing that I found in the research as well is talking about beta carotene rich foods. And people are asking, what is beta carotene? What does that mean? So beta carotene is your vitamin A rich foods. And normally you'll see that these foods are all orange in color. Your squash, your sweet potatoes, mangoes, apricots, carrots. These are wonderful to include in your diet. Wonderful source of vitamin A, very helpful for hair, skin health, nails. So these things we want to make sure we are getting in our diet regularly. Another wonderful thing is green tea and matcha. So green tea is a wonderful anti-cancer, antioxidant, and anti-inflammatory beverage. This is wonderful. And a lot of people are saying to get around 3 to 5 cups per day. It just depends on, like I said, everyone's unique. This green tea or matcha does have caffeine in the product. So being mindful of not drinking it too late, but there is so much emerging research talking about green tea and matcha and how it is protective to our cells. So that's really cool. Another thing to keep in mind is curcumin, or as you might know it, turmeric. It is a spice that is also an antioxidant and anti-inflammatory. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if you are using turmeric as a spice, you need turmeric's best friend, black pepper, to activate the anti-inflammatory properties of that spice. So let's say you're making some salmon and you want to add a little bit of turmeric to season your fish. You're going to want to make sure that you're adding some black pepper as well to make sure that you are activating all of the wonderful properties that this very rich, vibrant, colorful spice has. Another thing, as far as cancer prevention and recommendations, probably one of my favorite realms of research is integrative approaches, which is becoming a lot more mainstream in our conversations and our research. So integrative approaches are going to include things like mind-body techniques. This is going to include individualistic care, whether that be herbal medicine, acupuncture, music therapy, art therapy, getting on a scale and looking at your entire body composition analysis. How much muscle mass, how much fat mass, how much water weight does my body have versus just looking at one number on the scale. So a lot of these integrative and functional approaches, like I said, are becoming a little bit more mainstream. And we're seeing that a lot in some of the care that our physicians are providing. So we can see on the right, what does integrative and functional care look like? It's going to talk a lot about our lifestyle and behavior approaches, what our medical treatment looks like, and then some of that complementary and supportive therapies. So these are a lot of really wonderful things that are up and coming in the research that I wanted to share with you all. And if you have any questions about any of these, I would love to answer. So these are wonderful, and just wanted to share those all with you today. So this is the end of my presentation, but kind of, very overarching, like I said, but I wanted to touch on a few things that I think were super important as far as nutrition and cancer prevention goes. So if you have any questions, kind of like Erin said, please leave them in the chat or the Q&A because I would love to answer them. And another thing that I would love for everyone to do, to put either in the chat or Q&A, is to give us some topics that we can talk about in future lunch and learns. So we want to keep doing these and keep, reaching out to the community, and we would love to hear your feedback. So please drop those below and let us know what you would like to hear or who you may want to hear from. Maybe there's another healthcare provider that you would like to hear from and a topic that you would like us to discuss, and we would love to hear it. Okay, so I see a question here. I often see organic bananas and regular bananas at the store. What is the difference between the two? This is a wonderful question. Thank you, Ryan. This is a wonderful question. So oftentimes we see a lot of organic produce and more produce that may not have any sort of organic information or regards to it. And that can be for, lettuce or apples or what have you. This is going to refer to the way that the produce was farmed, harvested, and grown. A lot of times we see that different pesticides or water is used on more of our regular produce versus our organic produce. And the organic is going to protect some of that pesticide, like I said, pesticide and water usage that our regular products are unfortunately having. So organic is great. Absolutely. It's a wonderful, wonderful source. Do you have any healthy coffee creamers you recommend? Yes, I do. So I was actually watching a video on this last night. There was this influencer who was talking a little bit about some different coffee creamers, and a lot of coffee creamers that we may not know do have a lot of seed oils. And so those are not wonderful sources of consumption to put in our coffee creamer. One of the things that she did recommend was just an organic half and half, because it was very minimal ingredients and did not have any extra seed oils or added sugars. So I think an organic half and half would be perfect. Unfortunately, I do not have any recommendations as if someone is lactose intolerant. So I'll definitely have to get back to you on that one. But an organic half and half is a wonderful thing to add into your coffee. Okay, another question. How do we clean our fruits and vegetables from pesticides? We can definitely make sure that we are washing our fruits and vegetables very, with warm water. We can wash them with colder water. Unfortunately, I don't know if there's any way to actually clean our fruits and vegetables when they have already been exposed. So that is another point of research for me. Yes. Okay. You've heard about cleaning fruits and vegetables with baking soda. Do you recommend? Yes, this is wonderful. I feel like a lot of times when our fruits and vegetables are in transit, they could be exposed to just all kinds of things, whether that be dirt or any other like bugs. So I think it is wonderful to wash with baking soda. I think that's great. I also recommend to my patients even cleaning the outside of your fruits and vegetables that you're not necessarily eating the skin. So let's say it's an orange or a watermelon or a cantaloupe. I'll always recommend to clean the outside of those with some warm water and cold water. You can even do baking soda. I know a lot of people do that as well, because your knife is going from the outside to the inside. So we want to make sure that we have a clean surface area from the outside to the inside. We have time for a few more questions. I use Splenda in my coffee. Is it horrible to use? So if you are using Splenda, I think that there are some wonderful recommendations I have as far as more natural sweeteners, whether you can do honey. Another good sweetener that I see a lot of times, I don't know if you have tried this before, is stevia. Stevia is a wonderful, and it comes from the leaf. So that is definitely more natural. Another thing that is a good recommendation, I think I forgot to put in there, is agave. That's wonderful as well. Okay. Hope is asking, how often would you recommend eating red meat in your diet? Wonderful question, Hope. So quite a few um, to topics of conversation here. When we are choosing red meat, I want to make sure, of course, my gold standard for red meat would be an organic grass-fed beef. And the reason that I say that is because there are going to be so many wonderful nutrients, vitamins, and minerals that the animal is going to be getting from the feed. And so that's going to just increase our nutrient profile. If we're eating red meat, of course, the American Institute for Cancer Research is encouraging more of a plant-based diet. But if we're getting that organic red meat, I think that that is wonderful. They will recommend things as far as pork to be limiting that to around 12 to 18 ounces per week. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But if we are getting that quality red meat, I think that that has wonderful benefits. But we're also going to make sure that we're getting a well-rounded whole food diet in addition. Okay, let's see. Oh, this is a good question. What are you reading about radiating food in microwaves? That's from Miss Shelley. Hello, Miss Shelley. So this is a point of future research for me, actually. I do know that various cooking methods can deplete some nutrients, but to what extent and what are those cooking methods? That is something I'm going to have to look up. That is a really wonderful question. I love that. Charity. Oh, a good question. Can bone broth be substituted for beef broth in recipes? Absolutely. And I am a bone broth lover. I love bone broth because The broth is being extracted from the bones. You're going to be getting that wonderful vitamin, mineral, nutrient panel, and you're also going to be getting really good gelatin from the product. So you kind of think of something like Jello that is coming from more of that animal bone extract. A wonderful thing about bone broth is it's great for your gut health, which I saw somebody put in the chat that would be a future topic suggestion. A lot of people are talking about leaky gut and their gut health and how to increase the integrity of the intestinal lining of their gut to make sure they're absorbing more nutrients and hydration. So this is wonderful. Definitely can be substituted, and it's going to add just a variety of flavor, intense, like more intense flavor profile to your soups or stews, anything like that. And I personally love a beef broth versus a chicken broth, but everybody's going to have different tastes. Okay, let's see. What else do we have? Somebody is asking, which eggs do I recommend? Because I know that there's a lot. I feel like a lot of people either are saying, okay, should I get brown eggs? Should I get organic eggs? Should I get, free range, cage-free eggs? What does that look like? So of course, I love to get my eggs personally from the farmer's market. I know that those are coming from chickens that are able to roam around freely, which is going to give their eggs a more nutrient dense profile. So you'll probably see when you are cracking an egg that is maybe from a friend or a neighbor or the farmer's market, it's going to have a very rich yellow yolk. And most of the times that egg is probably going to have a lot more nutrients, vitamins, and minerals than maybe 3 eggs would have provided you regularly. So just a little bit richer as far as nutrients go. Another person commented that they want to hear a topic on the benefits of fasting, which is wonderful. I love that. I love to hear it. We can definitely talk about that. Are there other ways to get collagen in your diet other than shakes or juices? Miss Ruth, yes, thank you so much for this question. There are definitely other ways to get your collagen in, and one of those great ways is your protein. So chicken, fish, turkey, even your eggs are going to have your natural sources of collagen, which is great for your hair, your skin, your nails. Protein is an internal wound healer, and I'll use wound kind of, in quotations or loosely, but anything that's going on in your body that needs repair, it could be a wound, it could be a burn, it could be something like that. But in general, as our cells are kind of turning over and they are needing some assistance to be stronger, your protein is going to be wonderful for that. It's going to be very helpful for your cells. And protein is wonderful for your muscles and your muscle mass. And in turn, if we have strong muscles, we're going to have a strong barrier around our bones. So yes, it's a wonderful way to get collagen in your diet. Okay, great. I think I've reached everything as far as all of our questions. Erin, do we have anything else for our participants today?
I think that's everything for today. If we didn't get to any questions, we'll go back and answer them. But be on the lookout for any future lunch and learns that we have coming up real soon. Hope to see everyone joining again. But thank you again, Meredith, for that great presentation. I learned so much. But thank you again for everyone for joining today and taking the time out to come. But everyone have a great afternoon now. Happy Easter.
Thank you.